And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Next Level Real Talk Podcast with Sheldon and David. Hey,
Hi,
David.
hi out there, everybody. Welcome back. And just a reminder, last week we talked about Just Be You. That was our last episode. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go out there and watch it. Make sure you like, subscribe, or comment about the shows. We'd love to hear it. We get comments now and then, so it's kind of good to hear. And today's episode, we're going to kind of go off of last week's episode about just being you and kind of slide into a concept.
It's like a riff. We're riffing off of everything. We're just like
Yeah.
flow, going with the flow, right?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's it. I don't know what you're
That's
not
it.
gonna riff. What
That's
does that
it.
mean? So we want to get into something today. Kind of, I'll let Sheldon kind of explain it. So go ahead, Sheldon.
Yeah, we were talking about the wisdom of not knowing, right? This idea. We talked about that, that Chinese tale of the horse. Is it good or bad? I don't know. Who knows, right? This idea of not knowing. And where does that come from and how does it work, right? Because we always want to know, right?
Yep.
We always want to know. We ought to know what's going next, how to plan our lives, right? Plan our retirement, plan for this, plan for our children's education, plan for the future. We're always, and as Sarah said when she was 15, that you're future tripping, right? You're tripping on the future.
Yep.
And there's a certain amount you got to do with that, right? But when you look at it sort of from a spiritual, energetic, kind of big picture thing, what is it that you're doing is and in the Taoist, Alan Watson, the Buddhist Taoist kind of idea of flow and stuff like that is when you're trying to control something, when you're trying to do that and understand everything and know everything, you're trying to control it. Your
Yeah.
mind wants to control it, and again, it's not a bad thing, but it's a sense of safety, right? You're
And,
trying
and
to,
it's how you go about it. I mean,
yeah,
like I will say real quick for me, sometimes things come up and I'm like, oh, what am I going to say? Blah, 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 blah. I start planning the whole thing out. I'm not. It may not come up for another 3 days, a week, a month, but I got to have it planned right now. But that's not knowing what's going to change in the next 3 days, next week, next month. And so it's trying to control it without relaxing and going like, let's just process through this. You gotta try to do some planning,
Yep.
but it's over planning.
Yeah, and it's like Alan Watts would say. He talked about it in that book, in one of his books. He wrote a million books. I think might have been The Wisdom of Insecurity, but it's a very Taoist thing, which is this idea of flow, right? So life is a flow. The energy of life is a flow, and when you try to stop it and control it, it's like trying to stop a river. You're building a dam, right? And what happens when you try to stop a river with your hand? It just goes around your hand, over your hand, through your fingers, all that kind of stuff, right? It just moves. If life figures out a way to go around, and we're trying to grab it and control it and hold on to something. So when you think about that imagery of like water and you're trying to grab it, right? And Bruce Lee be like water. He was a Taoist. It's a very Taoist, Tao being Tao, right? This idea of grasping, and that in and of itself is futile, right? Because we're trying to control something we have no control over, right?
Yeah.
Better, and then you end up being more relaxed when you can let go, right? And so then this idea of letting go is the same idea. We were talking about relaxing and just being you last week, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
all sort of
Yep.
different aspects of the same thing. And part of that is not knowing and being okay with not knowing. Like you were saying, you want to say, figure out what to say exactly. And this is something that I have done, like when I would run my shop, a lot of times I would go into a meeting and have no idea what I was going to talk about. Zero. Like I wouldn't plan it at all. Now there could be extremes where maybe you should have an outline and you should have a plan. I'm not saying
Yeah.
like you were saying, there's a balance to that, right? You can go
Yep.
too far one way, but I would literally go in with just no idea. Like we'll see what happens,
Oh
right?
wow.
And then I would be open. I remember one time Jacqueline, because she's kind of the opposite, right? She would want to have everything planned out to the T. She's a Virgo, and it would be almost like over planning. It's like I'm going to say this, and then they said it, like every word, I'm going to say, I have it already planned out.
Like you just said it. Okay, real quick. You said it. She was saying they're going to say this. They're going to
Yeah.
say, well, how do we know what they're going to say? It may be like, oh, you agree with me. Well, there's
What
that
if
whole
they don't say
conversation,
that?
huh?
Then what do you do? Yeah, your whole
Yeah.
script is out the window.
So okay, keep going. Sorry.
So yeah, so she tends towards that end, and I tend towards the other extreme, and obviously there's somewhere in the middle. But I remember one time she was in a meeting when she was working at Visa, and she kind of surrendered it. And so it all ties together into this idea of trusting yourself, trusting this divine aspect within you.
I was like
You
trusting that
know,
higher power to kind
your
of
higher power, whatever you
guide
want to
you.
call that,
Yeah.
right? But you have to connect to that within, right? And relax and trust and surrender that, oh, do I have to come up? My ego brain has to have all the answers, or can I just surrender and allow something to flow through me, right?
Yeah.
And that's that whole idea of myself, I do nothing. The Father through me does all things, right? And so that's a Jesus quote, right? So he's describing this idea of allowing something to flow through, right? And so anyway, she went into the meeting, and I forget why, because that wasn't her, but in this particular time, she really didn't plan hardly anything out. And she literally, I think she said she kind of did like a surrender prayer. Okay, guide me through this or something. The Course in Miracles had a thing. God, I'm blanking out on what I used to say, you know.
Welcome
was
to our
like-
age.
Yeah, Holy Spirit, you know, show me what to say, or show me what to do and say. And it was just it was like a one-line quick surrender prayer. She's like, okay, you know,
Yeah,
tell me what to do.
Yeah, speak through me. What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, speak through me, right? Holy Spirit, you know, show me what would you have me say? What would you have me say or do? I think that's what I would say. Holy Spirit, what would you have me say or do in this scenario, like in service? What do
Yeah.
you want me to say? And so, again, some of these things are big fundamental things, right? Because it's like, well, I'm in charge here, and it's my shop, and it's my this, and blah blah blah, or whatever, right? So there's a kind of a very egoic time frame that you obviously have to kind of understand and deal with, and we've talked about that before. It's like doing the inner work, right? And what are we here for in service of our fellow beings, and right, and that kind of is something you have to work on as part of this, right? Because it's all tied together, right? So, hey, you know, what would you have me say or do? You know, okay, cool. I don't have to say what I want to say. I can say what you want me to say, right? And so there's a fundamental surrender in that, right? And trust that something's going to happen. So there are a lot of these big things that you sort of want to, you have to at least spend some time working on or thinking about in your own heart, right? But when you do that, it can look like you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right? So
Yeah.
in Jacqueline's example, she did a little of that. She walked in this meeting, and she said it was the most beautiful meeting. It flowed, everything flowed, boom, boom, boom. What she needed to say came right out. Everything's and it worked, right? And that's been my experience, is that you don't have to. So when I was the officiant for Sarah and Mason's wedding, she's like, "You're not doing that. You will have a speech, you will plan it, you will rehearse it," and that was obviously appropriate, right? You know, so I had a speech literally written out line by line and word by word and stuff like that. And there are times when you need structure, right? And there are times when you can
Yeah.
have just a loose framework and be open to how that's filled, right?
And yeah, like when we're talking about going into a situation, you're like, and we talked about it in the past about some situations I went into with Ashley and Josh of the family gathering. I was like, okay,
family stuff or whatever.
yeah, family stuff. Yeah, not Ashley and Josh, but the whole family scenario was going on. I was nervous. I was anxious. I was just anxiety was out of control because I didn't know what was going to happen. So I had my own mind going through every step of that whole
Yeah.
gathering. And you walk in, the first thing goes, well, that didn't happen. Well, shoot, how's the rest of this scenario going to happen? You know, but I went into it more negative.
Yeah.
Going like, when they say this, I'm saying this. I'm not going to take this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And it's, and you get, and I remember coming out of there either talking to you or my brother and going, it was nothing like that.
Yeah.
It was actually peaceful. It was nice. And I made more of it than it needed to be made.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, okay, yes, I'm going into a family situation, and I'm not in there that stage now, by the way, people. I've gotten through that. When I went into that, it was like, now I'm like, okay, whatever's going to happen, going to happen.
Yeah.
But I wish back in those scenarios, I wish it would have gone in going like, okay, this is where I'm going. This is my thought process, but not been so stressed out about it and going like, walk in and enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah. And if you think about it though, because I know that there were a couple of times where you literally called me before going into those meetings, those events, right, where we would
Yeah.
talk sometimes. But you also, everything we've talked about on this podcast, when it's not a habit that's ingrained in you, you have to practice, right? And sometimes you need support to do that, right? So everything we've talked about, hey, do you have a wolf pack to rely on? You know, you called
Yep.
me and said, hey, I'm going to this thing, I'm freaking out right now. What,
Yeah.
we would do a little quick meditation, or we talk about it, right? Or even if you didn't call me, you'd be in the car, maybe you're stressed out, and you'd do a little meditation yourself, right? You'd do a breath, and you say, okay, and you do a little surrender prayer and say, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Let me just move forward. This is right? And so there's these tools that we have, whether it's a wolf pack, whether it's a prayer, whether it's a meditation, whatever that is, there's these things that we could do to bring us present into the moment and out of that fear-based mind, because the mind's trying to control, right? Well, if they say this, I'm going to do this. You have all these mapped out strategies, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, I'm going to let all that go, and here we go. And then you move forward, right? And then all of a sudden, none of that happened.
Yeah.
And you're going, wow, this was beautiful. And in the end, it ends up being a beautiful thing where, and that's a very healing thing, right? Where people aren't like that and they're not this way. And, and maybe I was misjudging and all that kind of things, right? But the bottom line is, if you really think about it and the whole idea of what we're talking about here, if the angle, the perspective is not knowing, like, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to say. I really don't. I think I do. My brain wants to. I could do all this research and, in business, you can go to a meeting and you can expect something to happen in a specific way. My son-in-law just went to, a meeting with a major client of theirs, and, opening line of the meeting was completely different than anything they expected. And does it change the whole tone of the meeting? Of course it does, right? You have to deal. So this idea of, you planned all this stuff for one way, and then they say this, and now you're going another way, and it's okay, that's fine, right? But this idea of, did I even need to worry about planning all that? Again, it's a business meeting. You want to have some stuff laid out, of course, but
that wisdom of not knowing, okay, is, and it's like, it's not going to like, okay, I don't know anything. No, it's just like not knowing what's going to happen. You have a plan, like, okay, if this situation goes down, these are my files, but don't dwell on those files or those papers that you're thinking, okay, this is burp, 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 burp. And go, okay, these are the questions I have if this happens. But if you dwell on it too much, it's good to have a plan, but not overdo it, and good to know going and not knowing.
And also understanding that your mind tends to want to have the plan and will tend to get obsessed down that road more naturally than the other.
Yeah.
Which is to let go of the plan. So if you're going to build, and again, we're talking, there's a balance, especially depending on the scenario, right? If it's a business meeting, you got to have some kind of outline, right? Or certain scenarios you might want, but think of it more like a loose outline, right?
Yeah.
Than a very specific tied down game plan. Because what happens is, and again, the point of this is there's a wisdom in not knowing, because that creates an open space, you know? And in the Course of Miracles, they talk about you have to be open for miracles, right? There's a miracle mindedness, which is Father through me does all things, right? This idea of there's a divine flow that can happen, and that there's revelation, this idea of spontaneous thought that pops into your head, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to say now, because you're guided to that or whatever, right? You become an open channel, some people will talk about, where their mind is quiet, and then, inspiration, wisdom, teachings, higher teachings can come through people, right? And that's what they call their channeling. They just quiet their mind and this information comes through, right? So this whole idea of being open to something, one of the preliminary steps to that is an admission or an allowance for the possibility that you don't know.
Yeah.
Like maybe I don't have all the answers, and that's okay, because that's hard for the egoic mind, because the egoic mind wants to control things. Again, it's doing that from a place of wanting to, protect you, your body. It thinks, you're this body, and it wants to take care of you. So it's not an evil thing. It's not something to get mad about, but it's something to understand your relationship to that and how that works for you, right? Is you're shifting your perspective and your relationship to how your own thoughts work, how your egoic mind works, how your fear works, right? How fear works within you. Because that really, when you think about it, that's a fear-based thing. What if they do that? Oh my God, what if they embarrass me? What if this happens? What if they're mean to me? What if blah, blah, blah? What if I look like a fool? What if whatever?
And on that note, you write down what I was going to talk about. We go to the worst case scenario. There's the fear. What are they going to say to me? Like you just said, what's going to happen here? It's like we go to the negative side. We don't tend to go to the positive side. I don't know why that is. I'm not a psychologist into that brain, but that's where I've gone. I've gone to that negative side. Going,
the ego mind is based on fear.
Yeah.
The
And so
egoic
that's a
mind.
sad thing because then
Yeah.
I could have gone into so many situations going like, why did I even go down that road for a week and stress and be upset and have stomach issues because I'm so mad.
Yeah.
And it was none of that.
Yeah. The egoic mind is based on
Yeah.
fear because it thinks that you're separate. So
Mhm.
it thinks that your body and my body are separate bodies, and therefore there's no one higher connection where we're all one. And so when it looks at you as a separate being, and that's why a lot of the teachings talk about that being an illusion and it's not real
Mhm.
because ultimately we're all connected. But when you're in that frame that you think you are, then you're going to behave differently than if you're connected. That's why it's like, loving thy neighbor, right? As
Mhm.
thyself, not as like
Yeah.
my neighbor, but as if they were me. They're part of me. We're one. And if I love you as my neighbor, as myself, as part of who I am, then of course it's going to change how I behave towards you, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how the mind naturally works because I think we're all separate, right? So that's that idea of, again, the mind is operating from that place, and that's okay. And it's necessary,
Mhm.
right? If dude's coming out with a knife, you're gonna have to do something, right? You might not
Yeah.
just open your eyes and hug them. You might have to defend yourself a little bit, right? There are scenarios where that is appropriate, right? But the heart, when it's open, feels that connection, and it can
Mhm.
feel that oneness and that connection, and it helps you to see the humanity and the beauty of everybody around you. But you have to get out of the mind that's
Eh,
judging, right, and its
mhm.
fear into the heart, which
Yeah.
is connected.
And that's where I was writing down, allow yourself, allow you, yeah, you have to allow it. You have to allow
Yes.
yourself to step away. Like that, my dad always said, and I've told it before, he goes,
Yeah.
you see that email,
Uh,
step away, go walk away, go have a cup of coffee,
Yep.
come back, let your brain rethink. It's basically
Yep.
that, go meditate for a minute, is what he
Yep.
did, just
Yep.
indirectly. But step away. So in this situation, it's like if I start going down that road, I'm going like, oh, they're going to say this, they're going to do this. Wait a minute, step away. That's allowing yourself.
Yep.
That's a hard thing to step
Yep.
away because you want to get it done. You want to answer that question.
Yep.
Walk away, come back to it, and go, oh, really overthinking that. Okay,
Yeah.
if this happens, I got to have that discussion.
Yeah.
But okay, let's just wait and relax
Yeah.
because you can spend a week, a
Yeah.
month fretting over it and making it
Yeah.
really worse than what it is.
Yeah.
So allow yourself to step away. That's
Yes.
that, just being okay with you to say, I'm going to step away for this for a bit.
Yep. It's like, do I really know that? No, actually, I don't.
Yeah. Yep.
Do I really? Yeah, I don't. I don't. Okay.
Exactly.
you know, I'll be okay with this. I
Yeah.
literally that stepping away and the coffee break thing. I was in a shop right now where their tensions are high between all the departments, high, and all of these folks, every one of them has lost their temper and just behaved like crazy, just said crazy, it just exploded. And I'm like talking to the whole group, and I'm like looking at everybody, going, hey, we want to communicate openly and honestly, but respectfully. So if you're in a
Mhm.
place where you don't feel that you could be respectful, just step away. Just say, hey,
Mhm.
give me a couple minutes. I need to gather myself or whatever, and just walk. I would rather you
Mhm.
just walked away and said, give me a minute. I'm not in a good headspace right now, whatever, and just walked away and allowed yourself that time to
Instead of saying something bad that you can't take back.
yeah, saying something
And you
again,
really
like
didn't need.
like you
Yeah.
said in the last episode, the
Yep.
toothpaste thing, right? You
Yep.
squirted the
Totally.
toothpaste out, you can't put it back in the bottle. Now you're gonna have to
Mhm.
deal with that thing, right?
Yep.
And yeah, just give yourself a minute, right? And allowing yourself that. But yeah, again, there's an openness to the possibility
Mhm.
that this could work, right?
Yeah.
And again, it does take a certain amount of shifting perspective and shifting your relationship with who you are and what's inside of you and connecting to that place and allowing this space of openness, right? And this idea, the wisdom of
Mhm.
not knowing. Hey, I may not know all the answers, and I can allow them to come through me. If I'm
Ye
open, the right action will happen naturally.
Yeah.
And
And that allows you, depending on the situation, if you're going into a discussion, that allows you to be open-minded. Rather than going, this is what's going to happen, you're more listening. And maybe that can make that whole scenario easier,
yeah,
with it. Or if it's a specific situation, not a conversation, it allows you to go and enjoy that rather than be so walk in with a sort of resting bitch face.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, like, something's going to happen here. It's like, just go in and go, I'm anxious. You're going to be anxious.
Yep.
Understand that, people. You probably will be anxious because you're still having that situation, but go, okay, I'm going to feel this anxiety.
Yep.
It's not going to be easy, but you know what? I'm just going to go in and just see how it flows.
Yep.
And then maybe the flow will go great. If it doesn't, then walk with it at that point. Be open
I've
minded.
I have a funny story. So this is a while ago. This is years ago when I was running my shop. It's already been 10 years since I actually actively managed a body shop.
Wow.
So it's 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And my number one writer, my key writer, the estimator, who's front office guy, and my key body tech, who was like the informal shop manager. He was my right hand person in the shop and my right hand person in the office. Were very similar. They were both type A's. They were both very intense, and they were both very smart and very capable of what they were doing. But they actually didn't like each other because they were so similar. They would butt heads. And, it's kind of like, hey, you go in your office and do your thing, and I'm in the shop and I'll do my thing, and, don't come back here and mess in my
Yeah.
area. And the dude was a mechanic and motorcycle racer, so he was very comfortable in the shop, and he would tend to get involved with the guy's stuff sometimes in a way that offended them. Like, hey, I'm the dude working on the car. You stay out of my area, kind of thing. And one day I'm walking through the shop and they were face to face, about ready to like go to blows. Like
Really?
they were, you could feel it, right? They were, the whole chest is starting to come out. They're standing a little straighter and they're like leaning in, right? And both of them were like that. And I'm like, oh shit. And I was like, what happened to just be walking through the shop, and I walk up and I see that. So it was one of those moments where you don't have time to plan, right? But I also remember going, oh shit, what am I going to say? Like, what am I going to do? Oh, fuck, these guys are about ready to go at it. You know what I mean? So, again, it had been pretty practiced at some of this stuff that we're talking about, right? So I was fairly open to, like, what would you have me say or do kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
you tell me because I don't know right now,
Help me through the situation. I don't know what I'm
help me
doing.
do this. Like, and I could do that pretty quick. Like, literally, it's just sort of a shift, right? But
And
anyway,
that's a surrender in itself. Going,
yes.
I don't know what I need to
100%.
do. I need some
Yes.
help here.
Yes.
Then,
Ask.
yeah,
Help will come,
open
but you
up.
have to ask.
Yeah,
You have to
exactly.
ask, and you have to be open to it, right?
Yep.
Anyway, I remember just sort of going, oh shit, here we go. And I walked up and I put my hands on both their guys' shoulders and I just started laughing, laughing out loud. And that's what came. And and I had a teacher mentor who would talk about the druid. It was a druid technique, which is like a non sequitur. You ask somebody a question completely out of left field, like, "Hey, how are the Niners doing this weekend?" or what? You know what I mean? And they were like, "What?" And I just started laughing. And I remember them both looking at me like, what
What are
the
you
fuck are you
doing?
doing, dude? Like, you know what I mean? But it de-energized all of that anger because they were looking at me, laughing at them.
They'll kick it off of each
It
other onto
just
you. Yeah.
it just like in a second. Like I remember they was, and then I was just like, it's really funny is you guys both really love each other. And then I said the word love in the middle of a body shop, right? And they're like, what, I hate this. I want to kick his
What?
ass, right? And I said, no. I said, I've never actually heard you say a disrespectful word about him, and I've never actually heard you say a disrespectful thing. You guys actually both have a high degree of respect for each other, right? And respect is a form of love. Right? So you guys respect each other. You actually love each other. But you guys are kind of similar sometimes. So, you're both high strung. And I started saying the whole thing and they were just looking at me like, what are you doing, dude? But I started out with laughing and it just sort of diffused the whole thing to the point where they were like, and it was all gone. And then I was just like, hey, what's going on? And I forget how it ended. It was fine. It was totally fine. It was like a nothing. Like it turned, it was like a nothing burger they talk about, right? There was literally nothing that happened. Like it was no big deal. Like it all
That's
diffused in like a
crazy.
second.
Yeah.
But they were on the verge of like going to blows. I don't remember
Wow.
how he did it in the end, but it was just like one of those things where, again, I don't remember because I didn't do it kind of thing. It was like, right? But I guess the whole point of that is you can kind of handle even really intense scenarios from that perspective if you give it a chance. Again, some of your stuff going into some of those family scenarios was very intense for you, right? These were things that were very, very emotionally volatile, mentally draining, all of those things. I was in one I'm just describing that was extremely physically and mentally right on the very edge. Emotionally, these guys were on the edge, right? And I did not know. And neither
Yeah.
did you when you went in, right? And we both were able in this way to surrender to the idea of not knowing. Like, I don't know. And what do we got to do from there? And allowing something that's necessarily not of myself, right? To inform
Yeah.
what is going to be done and said and how that's going to happen and play out, and being okay with that, right?
Yeah. Walking in, you want to have a conversation with a person or a group, and you're like, I don't know how to this is going to go. And you're,
Yeah.
again, that's an anxiety. You just walk in, you just start the conversation
Yeah.
and then roll with it. That's the wisdom of not knowing. It's okay not to know,
Yeah.
but you have to have that ability to say, help me as I go through this.
Yep.
Open your mind. Because if you go in, I'm going to say this, and this, your mind's not open. It's stuck.
Yep.
And so if you just kind of take a breath before you go in, have those conversations, start a conversation, and then see where it rolls.
Yep.
If it gets to be really intense, say, hey guys, let's take a break.
Yep.
I need to walk for a minute. You guys need to walk. We're getting too intense. Be honest with that situation. Allow yourself to walk away, allow them to walk away, but allow yourself to not totally know.
Yep.
That's a hard thing to do. And I don't want to do that. I want to know. This is the answer
Yeah.
I'm going to give you. This is the answer you're going to tell me, and I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this, and you're going to tell me
Yeah.
that. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to allow yourself
Yeah.
to not know, which is the hardest thing for a human
Yeah.
being to do.
Yeah. Totally. It's
And
not an easy
just
thing.
trust it's going to go. It's going to go a direction, but you have to be able to trust that you're going to be able to handle that situation.
Yeah. As we always say, these things we talk about are simple, but they're not easy.
Yeah. Amen. Because it's not easy for us.
Yeah.
And we're the ones
It's not
talking about
easy.
it.
Yeah.
And the reason we talk about it because it's real stuff, real talk, and guess what? We're going through it too. So we're trying to help you go through it, and it's hard. Life is tough. I don't care what people say sometimes. Enjoy the good times, but enjoy it. And I have to say this in a weird way. Enjoy that process. I mean, when I was going through some of those family situations, it's like I remember coming out and going like, "Oh, that was pretty cool. That sucked." But I'm experiencing a feeling, I'm experiencing a situation, not an out of body experience, but just kind of like, this is something I've never felt before. So enjoy that because it may never feel that way again.
That's
Even
beautiful,
good,
dude.
good, bad, or indifferent. Go like, oh, that's something I don't want to feel ever again, or that was a good feeling because I went in and relaxed, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you got to be able to.
That is a form of
Yeah.
mastery, by the way. That is a very, if you get into the whole esoteric spiritual teachings, that is a very high form of mastery. But that is the truth. That's what happens when you're in that space. Is there is a kind of when the relaxation kind of and you allow and you're in this sort of flow, that there's a certain kind of beauty that happens, right?
Yeah.
And enjoyment, right? And usually for most of us, that happens after the fact, right? We talk about that, right? Where you went through this horrible thing, a divorce or whatever, suicide, drug addiction, all these things that we've been through, right? And then after the fact, when you've learned stuff, you've grown, you've changed as a person, and you're in this place where you're like, I feel like I'm a better human being for having been through all these experiences. And then you can kind of see this silver lining, if you will, this beauty in what had transpired. Oh, there was actually a real profound this, that I got out of that. And it was beautiful, right? But when you're in it, it sucks, right?
It sucks.
When you're in it, it sucks. But now after the fact, I can look at it and say there was some beauty to it, right? But you can also get to a place where you can almost appreciate the beauty even in the suck in the moment of it.
In the moment of it, yeah.
And that's kind of what you're talking about. That's why I call it like mastery. It's like you're not even waiting till hindsight. You can kind of do it. Wow, man.
It was, and one of those is like, God, my body. I mean, I could feel the anxiety. I could
Yeah.
almost feel every blood vessel going or moving or the
Yep.
body just going. It was like, wow, what's this feeling like? Well, don't fight it. Just go, okay, that's
Yes.
not fun,
Yep.
but it's something.
Yep.
That's what I'm feeling going into this situation, or
Yep.
this is going into this. It's like, that's a feeling that I hope I never had before, but now I
Yep.
know what it is.
Yep.
So it's kind of like just step back and go, that sucks. But hey, I'm not saying when you break your arm, go, oh, that's kind of cool. I've never
Yeah.
felt that before. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like, just go like, after you get that on, like, wow, that really hurt. That was a weird feeling. I'm not saying every situation works, but it was really cool when I could do that. So
Yes.
it was just because you're taking in the moment,
Yes.
So
That's super powerful, dude. That is, that's what I always say, right? Relaxation, right? And you were saying like like you could feel your blood vessels or whatever, like everything is tight. I used to say it's like almost like a cellular level resistance. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
every atom, every cell is tight on a certain level. You may look relaxed, you may
Yeah.
think you are. I can still touch my toes, but everything about it is tight.
Yeah. I
Or
tell my, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
In swimming, I tell my, when we get to state, okay, I always go, like, okay, ladies, we're here. We're at state. Some of you for seniors, it's your last one. I know we're here to swim fast. I know we got a goal. We got a plan. We got work to do. But I want you to step back and know you're at the state meet and just enjoy the journey, the process. Don't say, okay, I got to get up on the block, got to swim, I'm done. Okay, what? Go down, come back, do this, do that. I want you to, yes, get on the block, swim, cool down, do your warm up, do everything you're supposed to do. But in that process, go, wow, look around. Look, I'm in the state meet with all these people. Not like I'm going to swim for Xavier.
Just
Get
take a
out of
moment.
that and enjoy that process.
That's beautiful.
So
dude.
yeah, and so it seems to help. I think most of the girls. So kind of helps.
Well, that
us too
idea
as
that when
coaches.
you're relaxed, you actually perform better. The tightness
Yeah.
does nothing for you. If anything, it burns energy, right? You're losing
Exactly.
energy when you look at it from a swimming or athletic performance perspective. That tightness, that is a resistance, and your
Yeah.
body is then having to fight that and overcome it, right? And so, anyway,
Yeah.
so
I
that's
guess-
beautiful.
Yeah, I think that kind of wraps us up where we're going.
Yeah,
Big
think
thing
so.
I got out of it was shifting your perspective. That fear is in us, but be
Yep.
able to control that fear and go, okay, don't. And the main thing is the wisdom is of not knowing. It's okay not to know.
Yep.
It's okay to plan a little bit, but don't get the over planning and allow yourself to step away.
And I like, and it is Holy Spirit. What would you have me say or do? Pretty sure that's what it is in the Course
Yes.
of Miracles.
Okay.
And they use the Holy Spirit, and if you want to say Buddha or
Yeah.
Allah, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But surrendering to your higher power and asking, like, what would you have
Yeah.
me say or do in this situation?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I forgot it because it's something that I would kind of do almost all the time. Of this walking from a surrendered state of like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? I don't know. Okay, maybe I'm
Yeah.
supposed to meet somebody here.
Because guess what? It may be something new to you. So you don't know. It's okay not to know because this is a new scenario.
Yep.
I mean, as we're talking about many of those family things, it was all new. I've never been through a divorce. I mean, come on. Someone's like, how do we function here, people?
Yeah.
So, a new job. It's okay. You don't know how to do certain things. So it's that's a great part of wisdom of not knowing
Yes.
something. It's like, okay, this is going to be new. I got to work through it and enjoy it. So, and if you like this episode, make sure you send it out to people. Let people know about it because we're all going through stuff in this life and hoping everybody's doing good.
Hopefully that helps. Hopefully, there's some sort of like aha moment or inspiration or something. That's the whole point of what we're doing this. So yeah, we would love the feedback if that's something that, this was a little weekly reminder or whatever. Love the comments and share it with a friend or somebody if you think that it could help them. But we appreciate you guys listening in every week or whenever you do. So we love you. We hope it helps.
Yep.
And we'll see you on the
hope you-
next one.
Yep. Hope you have that smile on and make it a great week.